It's Lonely Out There for a Human, Eliot Schrefer, on how literature for young people can bond us with the natural world. October 19th, 2021. 80th Annual Book Week. College of Education and Human Development, University of Minnesota, driven to discover.
Hello and welcome. My name is Marek Oziewicz. I'm the Marguerite Henry Professor of Children's and Young Adult Literature at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to 2021 Book Week. This event, meeting today with you and not wearing a mask, this in itself is super special, but there is all kinds of other special things about what we're doing today, because we are emerging from the COVID year, and I thought I would welcome you by saying I see you. And as some of you know, this I see you greeting is used in a number of traditional societies. James Cameron used it on his avatar, and the meaning is to communicate that you are appreciated, you are seen, you're valuable, and you're welcome in this space. And the space in which we find ourselves is, of course, the homeland of the Dakota people, known as Minnesota Makoche, which is the land of cloudy gray water. We gratefully acknowledge the care that the indigenous people have taken of this land, including their heroic fight to stop the construction of Enbridge's Line 3 here in Minnesota. And we are inspired by their leadership. Book Week is a celebration of children's literature authors and illustrators that grew out of teacher education programs here at the University of Minnesota since the early 1900s. Book Week in this form as a single author event was launched in 1941, which makes it probably the oldest ongoing event of this type in this country. In its 79 editions, Book Week has brought to our students and community award-winning luminaries in the field of children's literature. Some of the names include Marguerite Henry, Madeleine L'Engle, Natalie Babbitt, Christopher Paul Curtis, Katie Camillo, Jean Luen Yang, and many, many others. Before we start, I want to thank everyone who made this year's Book Week possible. The College of Education and Human Development, Dean Michael Rodriguez for his unflinching support, Chief Development Officer Susan Holter for her enthusiasm, Ann Dingman, Amy Pavlik, and our entire college team for their organizational work that makes Book Week so spectacular. I want to give a shout out to Dr. Martha Bigelow, Department Head of Curriculum and Instruction, and to our graduate students, Sean Golden, Laura Lemansky here, Kirsten Hunt, and our recent graduate, Nick Cleese. And I want to acknowledge and celebrate our partnership with Lisa von Drasek, curator of the Curlin, and Mary Schultz of the Curlin Friends. So this year, we're celebrating 80th Book Week anniversary. It's a humbling realization, 80 years. When this event was launched, most of the campus did not exist. I like to imagine this place as a meadow where magnificent elk would graze along University Avenue, unpaved. Professors at the University of Minnesota dressed like Hagrids or Dumbledores, were riding these steampunk, funny cars called Fords or Buicks. And the world had not yet invented color. It was all black and white, like you can see in all of these old photographs. It was just black and white. But even back then, smart people appreciated the power of children's literature. Like magic, it has its dangers and it needs to be taught. So when book emerged as part of our teacher education programs, the University of Minnesota became one of the first institutions in this country to take children's literature seriously and to recognize the need for children's literature as a space where generative, creative ideas meet the most curious and open-minded audience, which is children. And no matter what was happening in the world, wars broke, borders were redrawn, all kinds of things happened. This event was never canceled. Until last year, of course, when we found ourselves in a pandemic, and it was a hard decision, a crisis decision, but also a right one. And doing the right thing is not always easy, but it can be an opportunity to do things differently and to think differently. Which brings me to our author, Eliot Schrefer. Very little is known about Eliot's childhood. Some say he was raised by bonobos. Others believe that he was washed ashore in a wicker basket filled with manuscript pages, most of them about animals. We really don't know. We actually have 4 questions for you about Eliot and about his books, and we have a couple of books to give away, right? We're ready with questions? So raise your hand if you know the answer.
When did Eliot first start writing fiction?
When did Eliot first start writing fiction? Year? He knows. Give it your best shot. Kindergarten? Early grades?
There are no wrong answers, except if you get this question wrong.
Yes, one hand's up.
You're very close.
Yay! Is it 2001?
No, but she was very close.
Okay, wonderful. Let's move on. So we have one close to the correct answer. What is the correct answer?
According to Eliot's bio, it is 2004.
2004. Okay, that was close. Wonderful. Okay, big hand. Second question.
All right. What nationality is Eliot's mother by birth? What nationality is Eliot's mother by birth?
Oh, there is a... Yes?
Yeah. Yes!
British!
British!
Yes! Woo! Third question.
What animal did Eliot enjoy feeding as a child? Imagine you're strolling in a park.
Let's hear it again.
What animal did Eliot enjoy feeding as a child?
What animal? Okay, we have...
It is not a squirrel, no.
Another hand was up? Ducks.
You are correct. The answer is duck.
Ducks is correct. Woo! Last question.
All right. The last question is the most difficult, so I'm going to ask a very long question to give you all the information you need to make an informed decision. What is Eliot's favorite food that is red and ripens in June in Minnesota and is not a tomato, and it could poke you if you try to reach for it? Yes. Yeah, raspberry is right.
Raspberries, whoa. So we do know something about Eliot. And one thing we know for sure is that he grew up to be this New York Times best-selling author, an author of books for adults, for young audiences, and then across age ranges. And most of his books focused on animal conservation and wildlife. From the Popper Penguin Rescue, which came out this year, through the Lost Rainforest and Spirit Animals fantasy series, to adolescent fiction, especially the Ape Quartet, Endangered, Threatened, Rescued, and Orphaned. These books have been among some of the best researched and most successful works of contemporary literature that showcase wildlife conservation in ways that young people can relate to. Dr. Jane Goodall described his novel Rescued as, quote unquote, moving, fascinating, and eye-opening. Personally, I consider him one of the leading voices in children's literature committed to mobilizing young people to defend our planet's biodiversity. And this whole biodiversity thing is, of course, no small issue. It's an existential threat, like climate change, except that biodiversity receives, according to one study, 8 times less attention than climate change in the media. So it's kind of easy to forget that we are really apes, storytelling apes, wearing clothes. So it's been under the radar for many children's literature authors, except not for Eliot. His books show that we must start thinking about animals differently, that preserving biodiversity and wildlife are not optional, but essential to supporting the web of life that young people today have a right to inherit. Eliot's work helps young people appreciate their biospheric legacy. It inspires. It is critical for raising a generation of climate-conscious citizens mindful of inalienable rights of the non-human world. And Eliot's work has been named the best of the best by several organizations, including NPR, ALA, and the Chicago Public Library. It has won a number of prestigious awards, including the Green Earth Book Award and Sigurd Olson Nature Writing Award. But to truly appreciate what Eliot has achieved, you need to look into his work. And when you read his work, what you find is a world-building jaguar or lion. He's a master wordsmith whose stories empower and transform lives. And this is a magic that defies easy explanation, magic that is more powerful than all of the awards combined, and magic that nourishes our own animal souls. So this is the voice of Eliot Schrefer and the power behind his writing. Friends, please help me welcome the weaver of awesomeness, Eliot Schrefer.
Awesomeness. Thank you. Thank you so much, Marek. You've been an amazing host, and we actually got to do a roundtable yesterday talking about climate literature, and it was so fascinating that what you had to say that I'm looking forward to our Q&A portion where we can continue the conversation there. Thank you. Weaver of awesomeness, I mean, that's great. Thank you. I'm going to keep that with me. I might get it tattooed somewhere on my body. Since I'm far enough away from you, I'm going to take off my mask.